I turned this simple fabric into an elegant kaftan dress, and I absolutely love how it turned out. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to cut, shape and sew this kaftan step by step. And yes, beginners can actually make this. Let's get started.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I have this beautiful Ankara print. So I have this in 6 yards, but I will not be using all the 6 yards. I'm going to be making use of about maybe 3.5 to 4 inches, and I'm also going to be getting out the scarf from this fabric too. I have my stones because I'll be stoning the clothes at the neck parts, just as you can see. I have my lining, so I'm not going to be using a full lining for this outfit. I have this lining about 1.5, and I have this beautiful doll face, this in 1 yard. So I'm going to be using it to design the neckline and also the sleeves. I have my thread and my zip because there's going to be a zipper on this dress, and my basic sewing tools. Now let's get started. Also on the screen is the measurements that you'll be needing for this style. So right now on my table I have my fabric all folded. So let me explain. So the fabric to fold, that is from this part here to this part, I had my hip measurements divided by 4, plus I added the allowances that I wanted to add. My hip circumference divided by 4, which was about 11 point something, plus ease, then plus about 2 inches for allowance. Then at this top part I came down by 1 inch. This is going to serve as my shoulder line or my starting line. Then this is for the front. You can see it's on a fold. This part is on a fold. This part too is also on a fold. This is the back pattern, and the back pattern is about 2 inches bigger than the front, just as you can see. 2 inches bigger than the front. This 2 inches now here is going to be for my zipper. So this back here, like this, let me just indicate it. This is going to be for my zip, and that is 2 inches. So let's take the measurements. So the first measurement I'm going to be taking is my shoulder to my bust point. You can see where I'm placing my tape. From my shoulder to my bust point is 11 inches. So I'm going to mark that here. Then I'm going to use my ruler to square it out. Then the next measurement is going to be my shoulder to my waist, which I'm using 17 inches. I'm going to square this out also. So this is my bust, this is my waist. The next is going to be my I'm also going to square this out. My next measurement, full length of this, and the full length I'm working with is 60 inches. So I'm going to square that out now. My table is small, so you will not be able to see the full length. So just know that my full length is 60 inches. That includes my hemming allowance also. After getting my vertical measurement, this is it. Then I'm going to be getting my horizontal measurement. And the first measurement I'm going to be getting is my shoulder measurement. So 14. So 14 divided by 2 is going to give me 7 inches. Then I'm going to be marking my neck width. So I'm using the neck width of 3.5 by 1 inch for the back neck depth. This is for the back neck depth. I'm going to be connecting this with my phone. I'm going to be coming down by 3 inches for the front neck depth. That is 3 inches. Also know that there is a slit at this front also. But let's first get the depth of the neck for the front. So just know that there's a slit at this front part. At this side there's a slit, but let's just get the front neck depth first before we go into the slit. So I have gotten my curve there. So I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Connect this to this part. At the bust point, I'm going to be coming up by 2 inches. This is going to serve as my chest line. I'm going to extend it out like this. So this is my chest line. On my bust line, which is here, I'm going to be marking my quarter of my bust measurement, 10 inches. So I'm going to be marking that here. I'm going to mark that here, 10 inches. Then I'm going to add 0.75 for ease. Then I'll be adding 1.5 inches for, so I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. Then I'm going to go to my waist circumference. I'm going to go to my waist. I'm going to mark in a quarter of my waist measurement, which is 9.6. I'm going to mark 9.6 here, plus 0.7 for ease. I'm going to be adding 1.5 for sewing allowance. So I'm going to be connecting this. So I'll connect this just like this. Then on my hip circumference, on my hip here, I'm going to be marking quarter of my hip. Quarter of my hip is 11.7. I'm going to mark that here. 11.7 plus 0.75 for ease, and also 1.5 for sewing allowance. And I'm going to connect that with my curve. I'm going to be measuring what I have on this my hip here. I have 14 inches. So this 14 inches, I'm going to measure it down to my hem. Then I'm going to be connecting it straight down. So moving over to the zipper allowance. So at the waistline, so to contour the back from the center front, which is here at the waistline, I'm going to be going out by 1 inch, just like this. You can see. So I'm going to be connecting this 1 inch to the chest line and also down to the hip line. Let's get the armhole curve. To get the armhole curve, so I'm going to measure out what I have here. I have 8 inches. So 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4. Just like this. I've gotten that. I'm going to come out by half of an inch here. Then on this chest line, I'm going to measure out of my bust point, which is here. Then add my 0.7 for ease. Then 1.5. Yeah. So now I'm going to be getting my curve. So this is for my front curve. For the back curve, it's just going to be like this. So we're not going to be going in. So this is going to be for the back curve, and this is for the front. And this is the back. At the shoulder, I'm going to be marking 0.5 inches. This is going to be for my sewing allowance on my shoulder. So now to cut this out, I'm going to be cutting it like this. So in order not to confuse you, Let's take it all the way like this. So first of all, I'm going to be cutting out the sides. Then after that, I'm going to be cutting out my armhole. So I'm going to be cutting out the back armhole first. And I'm going to cut out the shoulder. Then I'm going to cut out the back neck depth first. To cut out the zipper allowance, first of all, I'm going to open it like this because I'm going to be adding a zipper. So when I get to this part, I'm going to contour it. Put my scissors in here and just slide it open. So like I told you earlier that there's a slit at the front part. So this is the front, please. You can see this is the front. So let me just take this out so that you won't be confused. So this is the front part. Then I'm going to be coming down by 4 inches from the front neck depth. So I'm going to come down by 4 inches, just as you can see here for my slits. I come down for my 4 inches, then I'll come in by half of an inch. So I'm going to be connecting this 0.5 inches to this 4 inches here with my ruler, just like this. So after marking this, I'm going to be cutting it out, but not now. So let's take this out now, and we're going to be getting the material we're going to be using for the front design. I have introduced this fabric and it's on a fold. So I applied my hairstay on it. I don't really have much hairstay, so that's why I'm working with this limited hairstay. So first of all, I'm going to mark out my shoulder length. After marking that out here, so I'm going to be marking the length of that design, and the length of that design I'm going to be marking out 13 inches for the length, because I'm going to be hemming the edges of that. So this is the 13 inches here. After that, I'm going to now cut this out. This is the neckline, and I'm going to also cut out the shoulder. This part here, I'm going to notch it. So this is where it's going to stop. You can see my notch here. So let's just cut this other part out. I'm going to be removing the Ankara. I'm going to mark out the length of the design, and I said I'm going to be using 13. So this is me marking it out. So I'm going to be squaring it out. So I have squared it out. So let me just square it out also here at the part that we notched. I'm going to be cutting out this other part because it's not needed. So I'm trying to take out the length so that you understand. So look at it here. And we said we're using 13 inches. So I'm going to be marking this 13 inches very well here. Making sure that it's on a straight line. So I'm going to be cutting out this excess that is not in use. So you can see it's straight now. I'm going to be going up by 2 inches. That is from this opened part here. I'm going to go up by 2 inches because of that style that you can see. So you can work with any design you want at that part. You can design any shape that you want there. So I'm going to be connecting this like this. Let me try and use this pen to see if you can see it clearly. I think it's clearer now. Then I'm going to be cutting this out. Like I said, you are free to work with any design that you choose to go with. This is mine. So when I open it, you can see what I have, right? So I am done cutting this out. So I'm going to be introducing my front piece again so that I can cut out the slits at the front. Remember that 4 inches slit? Yes, it's time for us to cut it. So I'm just going to make sure that I pin this, making sure that everything is placed correctly. Okay, you can see that, right? Then let me tilt it like this so that you see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be cutting out this 4 inches slit now. So you can see the fabric is here and the design is also here. You can see I have cut that out. So now you can see the design and the fabric. You can see what the fabric is looking like. That's why I didn't want to trim it out initially. I wanted to trim it out together with this. You can see what it looks like. Now I'm going to go and cut out my lining because I'm going to be lining this fabric. So I'm going to go and cut out my lining. But before we cut out the lining for this fabric, I'm going to be using the lining to turn. Let's cut out our pocket because my client wants a pocket for this. That's 0.5 I went in by. I have cut out the armhole. Then I have also cut out the lining for it. So my lining is, like I told you, is not a full lining. You can see it's not a full lining.
For this design piece, I'm going to take it to the ironing board and I'm going to iron. That is, I'll fold this side by 1/2 an inch and iron. Then I'm also going to fold this down part by 1/2 an inch and iron, and I'm going to do that all round, excluding the shoulder part. So at this part, you can see I had already stitched it down, but I'll suggest that you just iron it like I said initially. After ironing it, you're going to place it on the fabric, and that is when you're going to stitch it plus the Ankara together, just as you can see now.
So you can see what it looks like now. I have stitched this design piece on the fabric. So I stitched it on the sides like this at the tip. Make sure you stitch at the tip. So I just left the neck here like this. So I'm going to bring my lining and I'm going to use my lining to turn it. So I'm going to use my pins to pin the lining all the way around. So I'm going to be stitching it all the way around from the neck like this, down like this, all the way. Then I'm going to use this to turn my fabric, just like the way you normally use your lining to turn your fabric. That's what I'm going to do for the body. But for this upper part, just watch where I'm going to be stitching. I'm going to be stitching all the way through the neck down to this V part, all the way, just like that. So this is what the neckline looks like. I'm still going to be working on this neck parts, and also this is the armhole. I'm going to be attaching the sleeves. This is it. I have my pockets at the side, so if you know how to attach your pocket, just do that. I have a video on the channel on how to attach the pockets. I made the gown like this, something similar to this, and I also attached a pocket inside. So I'll kindly leave that link for you. So if you need the link, please just comment on the comment section and I'll link that for you. So this is what it looks like. I have joined the inside, the sides. This is what the back looks like, because I'm going to be attaching the zip. So I did a loose stitch here. You can see it's already loosened. So I'm going to be attaching my zipper. So the back is not going to have the slits. The slits are going to be by the sides. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine now to add my zipper to the back. Then I'm going to get the slits at the side. Then I'm going to hem the bottom, and that's going to be it. So if you've watched up to this part in the video, please kindly like, subscribe and turn on your post notification. I want to say thank you.
And that is it for this elegant kaftan dress tutorial. I hope you enjoyed sewing this with me and learned something new from today's video. If you did, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment and subscribe to Chije Stitches for more beautiful sewing tutorial and fashion inspiration. Let me know in the comments if you would need any explanation. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next tutorial.